tonight is the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening, everyone, shall I say. Thanks very much for joining us on the Rangers Journal on this Monday, the 7th of April. Well, it's a very familiar situation that we find ourselves in on this sunny Monday. Look, it's going to be tough for everyone to get through this session, this evening therapy session, but we'll all get through it together. It would be great to get your thoughts. Use this as a therapy session, as though we're your therapist. Get your thoughts and comments into the chat, and we'll come round to them. I'm sure it'll be therapeutic for us all. I'm joined by a great panel, if nothing else. So I've got my man Ricky. How are you, pal?
I'm fine, Ross. Evening, lads. Yeah, looking forward to tonight, I suppose. Get one or two things off my chest, because I know we'll get into it, but that's probably the worst it's been for a long, long time. There was nothing positive about that at all. As I say, we'll get into it, but looking forward to it, guys.
Yeah. Mark, good to have you back on. How are you keeping, mate?
Yeah, good, Ross. As Ricky said, it was bleak, wasn't it? We'll dissect it a wee bit more across the board. I think for everybody will have different opinions, but a very Bale, Gio, sort of a Clement-esque performance. I think very, very flat. Nothing really. We had one idea, I think, and it was get the ball to Cherney, and we done nothing. We were poor. We were poor across the board, I think.
Mm-hmm. Deano, what a pleasure it is to have you on, matey, and that cheeky smile of yours. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Glad to be back on, and yeah, can't wait to get into this. Yeah.
Right, let's start, shall we? Let's start, Ricky, with the lineup. So, I thought when it came out that he was looking to probably go at Hibs quite a bit. He started with four at the back: Jeff Day, Sterling, Suter, Tavernier, obviously Jack Butland in goal. Raskin and Barron, who, you know, in recent weeks and especially in Europe, have looked strong in that midfield area and controlled it, with Diamonde in front in a supposed free role. And then Igerman, Dessers and Cherney across the front three. So you could call it a 4-2-3-1, or you could call it a 4-4-1-1 with Diamonde sitting off Dessers, or just a 4-3-3. Either way, it felt as though we should have had the players on the pitch to get the job done. Initial thoughts when the lineup came out? I know we don't have loads of depth at the minute, but where was your head at?
Well, you've got two centre-halves on the bench who are paying good money to, and you're playing Sterling, who is predominantly a right back, out of position, as was Igerman, out of position, clearly. So looking ahead to Thursday night, I just assumed he'd went with his five at the back, as he has been doing. He's been quite successful. Tavernier looks a different player when he's in there. He's not a right back, as Jeff Day is certainly not a left back. So if we revert to a five across the back on Thursday, it sort of justifies this sort of a reason for why didn't he play with the personnel. And then he started with Suter. Suter's not available on Thursday. You know, I just think we'd have been better starting with the personnel and the system that we're going to play on Thursday. The most important game we're going to play this season now. The league's gone. And he goes with that formation, which should be nothing like how we're going to set up on Thursday. And for me, that's just Barry Ferguson. Never the Rangers manager. Never, ever, ever should he be anywhere near consideration to manage that team. And as I say, well, Igerman was obviously told to stick on that touchline, and the boy was just out the game. And it was just dreadful for the whole game. And it's down to the manager. His tactics were just, as Mark said, it's just Clement all over it. You know, Ferguson was going to come in there and change everything, play youth, get Bailey Rice in there, do the next thing. You know, we'll get Danilo sitting there, but he keeps on going on with that Muppet Dessers. And he's not changed anything, Ross. And it's just so frustrating. So please don't ever say to me that Ferguson should be in the running for that Rangers job. Not for me.
Dino, is there an argument to say that playing Suter, obviously Suter's not playing in the home leg on Thursday, so playing Suter allows Balogun more minutes, and it's more time to sort of recover and regain some strength, and you'd imagine that sort of Sterling or Proper will be in next to him. Do you think there's an argument to say that really that team that he's played there should be good enough to beat Hibs, right?
No question. But I do think that Balogun didn't play because he can't play 2 games in a week, and his presence is going to be imperative on Thursday. Do you know, and on the sort of centre-half issue, my dad raised a good point. He says, where's this Fernandes? He came in and he's like, have we even seen him? I can't even remember. Has he even made an appearance for us? Comes in the January transfer window. We're now in April, and you can count all the times he's played on one finger if you're lucky. So why are we having a right back at centre half if we've got a Fernandes there who we've brought in to be played? You know, that's an argument in itself. So, but Balogun definitely needed to be rested for Thursday, because any time this season, I think he has played 2 games. He has actually went off injured on that second game that he's played in. So, he's going to be badly needed if we're going to be having the 3 centre halves, which he probably will do on Thursday night.
Yeah, good point. Mark, Ricky was making a point about, I guess, the managerial credentials and being able to pick the right team for the right day. Is there an argument to say that a lot of these players have played under Clement, they're now playing under Ferguson, and have yet to perform, and will maybe stop? Formation is quite an easy thing to apply to this. Is it the quality of the players that we're putting out, not the formation, that is determining the outcome of these results? Because it's time and time again, no matter the formation, we're seeing this lackluster, low energy performances.
I think for a coaching side, what I do think is, it doesn't matter who the manager is, right? There's 4 things that Clement, Bale, Barry Ferguson, any one of them can't give the players: attitude, application, hunger, desire. When they cross that white line, they need to want to run the extra yard. And that's the big thing for me. I think they've done it in the last couple of games. Everybody spoke about it. Was it just a new manager bounce, and then it went back to the same? And that certainly looked like that first half against Dundee, and certainly for large parts against Hibs. If we get good enough quality, arguably, I think positional wise, I think Sterling's probably is one of our best centre halves, to be honest. People might disagree with that. They think it's Suter, he's not going to play. I think hindsight's Barry Ferguson, since he's come in, people's liked him. Some people have gotten bored with it because the decisions he's made. First and foremost, he's a Rangers fan as well, right? And he wants to win every game. So see if he drops, see if he doesn't play Suter, like some people suggested he shouldn't have played on Saturday. He plays Balogun gets injured. We're all sitting here going, well, why did Balogun play? Why did we risk it going to play Suter? Ferguson's mindset is of an old ilk when Rangers were winning things, and it was win the next game. Don't worry about a game 4 days later. And I think that's where, as I say, if you go and play all the boys and Hibs turn you over 3-0, I know it was 2-0 and the game was pretty poor, but if Hibs go and beat you 2-3-0 and you play loads of boys, then we're all sitting here going, well, why was he not playing, and why did he not play? And then we go, oh, we didn't risk him. You can go and lose on Thursday, and these boys are not played for 10 days. So I think it's because you don't win in it. When you don't win, we micromanage everything, you over maybe analyse it sometimes, I think. But I think that across it, if you look at it, Fernandes, as Deano says, where's he been? I think did he play Queen's Park, Deano, maybe the first half against Queen's Park, I think, Fernandes, and I don't think he's been seen since. Enciala, Fernandes can't play in Europe also. There's another one in it, because you're left-footed balance for a centre-half, which we'd all want a balance. So, yeah, I think, Ross, you're right, though. I think sometimes it might just be quality. We don't think proper's good enough. Across the board, most Rangers fans are sort of he seemed to do okay in Europe. Maybe he might play midweek. I just think Barry's just went one game at a time, won that game, reverted formation, probably set up as a 4-2-3-1, but Tierney offered very, very little, in my opinion. Your man was out the game. Danilo, Raskin, Barron didn't really do much. Raskin, since he's come back internationally, he's not really done much. It wasn't great against Dundee either. Sort of gave away the ball for the first goal, and sort of came into the game. Lawrence and Hadji came on in that game, made a bit of difference. So did Danilo, but he reverted back to Hadji came on the 8th minute, 2-0 down. Well, what are you meant to do? A young thing like Curtis comes on at that. I get that, give him a chance, but 80 minutes. 88 minutes. I know we 7 were added on, so had you get 10 minutes and 2-0 down, and then people are going, oh, he doesn't want to be there. I don't know, it's a strange one, isn't it? We're back to the drawing board, aren't we? Where do we go next, I think? Listen, we're all going to wake up before he's going to wake up on Thursday morning, and you're going, we can do this tonight. And that's just the Rangers mentality. So that's what we're going to do. As the week comes on, we'll get a draw and we'll keep the tie for the next tie. But I think there's could be a massive overhaul in the summer. Again, I just hope the right person's in charge to drive that quality-wise as well forward.
It's some really good points there, Mark, and those watching at home. Well, firstly, thank you for joining us on the Rangers Journal tonight. I know it's a tough ask after the weekend's performance. I want to just give a shout out to our sponsors whilst I've got your attention. We are sponsored by Off to the Match I Go, which is a brilliant Rangers memorabilia and merchandise website and shop, which is on Facebook. If you scan the QR code on the screen, that'll take you to their Facebook page. And if you use Journal 10, you will get 10% off your first order. So go and check them out. And Dean, I believe you are actually live from Off to the Match I Go HQ.
Yes, I most certainly am. As you can see, you've got the banner behind me. So it's quite therapeutic sitting in a shop surrounded by Rangers history. So yeah, it's quite a change in my usual backdrop as to a hotel bed. So yeah, it's good to be live from the shop.
Good man. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff we'd all like in there. So do go and check them out. Genuinely really good stuff on there. Ricky, one thing I wanted to ask you, and look, I hear you, and I think some of the points that Mark made about the substitutions, bringing Finlay Curtis on at 88 minutes, Hadji at 88 minutes, even Danilo at 75 minutes, feels a little too late. So maybe there's a bit of a lack of quality there. But would you not rather a manager, and is it not quite refreshing to see a manager like Barry who comes out and says, this is not a Rangers team, that is not what I expect when they go on that pitch? And he's speaking like one of us. Clement, Beale, head in the sand, lost for words, excuse after excuse, the Belgian waffle. How many times do we hear it? Is it not refreshing, though, to hear that Barry's going, that isn't good enough, that we deserve better as fans? We all deserve better, and he deserves better as the manager because he expects more from the quality that he sees in the training ground.
Yeah, we get that, and we can all say the right things, Ross. It's easy to come out in the media and say that you're angry, it isn't good enough. We all know that. But, I have to go back to his formation, his players, his setup. It wasn't right. When you go back to prior to Christmas, Hibs we beat them 1-0, but they had 18 attempts at target that one day. Hibs are a good side. They're well drilled. Your man Gray's got a good tune out of them, and they're the forum sort of a team of the SPL at the moment. But I'll go back to my original point. We've got probably the most important game we've got on Thursday night. If he's going to play a formation like the 5-1-3-1 or whatever it may be, why didn't he play that formation against Hibs? We were comfortable. We've looked pretty good in that formation. And then I take Mark's point that he's trying to win each game at a time, but there's no reason why we couldn't win that game with a 5-3 or a 5-2-3, whatever it may be. The 5 at the back giving your wingers. We never had any width in that game because Iggeman's not a winger. As Mark said, Czerny was totally off it. So your fullbacks are not getting down there. Jeffy never, ever, ever came down outside Iggeman, give him an option, because the whole formation was all wrong. There was no pattern, there was no fluidity, nobody knew what they were doing. There was nothing positive about that performance. Players did not understand that system, what he was trying to do, and it was pretty obvious to me. Whereas if he'd have played with the 5 that it's been playing, Tav's been superb in that formation. Totally lost on Saturday. And I know, well, I'm pretty convinced he'll play with 5 at the back on Thursday. So why didn't he do it on Saturday? So these are the kind of decisions, utilising the players he's got. Now, I don't know what's happened to Enciala. The guy's never been that bad, but I remember Enciala was dragged off when Ferguson first came in, and he made the boy probably feel about that size for no reason at all. And there hasn't been a relationship with Enciala now with Ferguson. He wasn't even on the bench, so there's something going on there with Enciala, and he was meant to be one of the big boys of the future coming from AC Milan, and he's just been punted to he's not even in the match squad. So there's definitely something going on there. But to have proper sitting on the bench who will definitely start on Saturday, again, it's a bizarre decision for me, because the boy needs some legs. He needs to know who's going to play alongside, so he can a wee bit of telepathy goes on with the players left and right of him. Look, that chance on Saturday is now gone. It was wasted. So I take Mark's point. He's trying to win game by game, but let's look. Thursday's huge. It's massive for our season, and I think he's wasted an opportunity there. We should have started with certainly the formation, if not the personnel, because Balogun, yeah, I'll take that one. You can't play 2 games in a row, but that formation should have been the same formation as we played, unless he's playing with the exact same formation. If he does that on Thursday, we will get absolutely walloped with that team and that formation, because they're just not good enough.
Yeah. Deano, I want to give you the floor a second here, and I really want your thoughts on Jack Butland. Clearly, a man that is low on confidence and someone that's probably at the lowest in terms of his performance level so far as a Rangers player. Where's your head at with him?
He shouldn't have been in the starting 11 at the weekend. I said that. I believe he should have been dropped long before now. It's mistake after mistake after mistake, game after game after game. And I say this in the group chat, Kelly and Danilo must be thinking, how crap do they have to be till I get a game? Like, seriously. It's pathetic how bad Butland actually is. I know he's heroics against Fenerbahce, and we'll give him massive credit, obviously, which we all did. And we're hoping that would be a wee kick-start that he badly needed for him to then continue to obviously go on a good trajectory to get at least try and get back to the levels he was at the first 6 months he was here. However, it's not been the case. That was a blip in good form. That's all I can say, because he just came right back down. And that goal, I know we'll probably talk about the goal specifically, but I'm going to hit 3 birds with 1 stone here. Mark, the things that Mark said about hunger, design, all the rest of it, right? Their goal, if you actually watch it, Raskin was double the distance away from the ball as to what Igaman was, right? And Raskin burst a gut trying to get to it. Igaman just sauntered over, and Raskin was closer to the ball than him. Do you know? So that's proof in the pudding that these players aren't particularly bothered about playing for us. And the goal itself was obviously a horrific mistake. Like how a professional goalkeeper concedes a goal like that, I'll never understand. So, because it's his job to keep the ball out the net, do you know? So that's his job, and pathetic. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'd have Kelly till the end of the season. Yeah,
Mark, where's your head up with that?
I would keep Butland in. I know it's a strange one. I get your point, Dino. I do. I just think Kelly's not played a lot of football either. So it's the old one, innit? You take him out and Kelly makes a clanger. Why did we take him out, innit? It's hindsight and foresight and try to get these. I get that. I think comes through a rock. He should save it. Everybody knows he should save it. He seems to do some of the routine ones. I think it's in his head. He's thinking, right, I'm going to catch this and then throw it out like Dundee the week before, which he caused the goal. He thinks, where's he going to go next? I like Kelly, and I like the fundamentals of Kelly, but I was he played this season 2 games, maybe. Is that right? When Butland sort of injured his leg. Mason Munn played the Queen's Park game, I think. So it's a strange one for me. I think Butland's a big character in the changing room. I think his head's down. It's a bit low. I don't think he's quite recovered for even the Old Firm game in the cup final last year where he makes a mistake. I think he should save that off either. And I think he thought he was going to the England squad. It didn't really happen, and his head went. I agree with you, Dino. I thought he turned the corner. I think it was at Tynecastle. We won the game. He had a really good game, and I thought, right, he's back to it, and then cut of mistakes after mistakes. So it's a strange one. I don't think he'll change him. Ross, I think me and you last week as well. I had this sort of a same, where do we go forward? Do we need a new goalkeeper? Or as I say, I do quite like Butland. I know he's made a few mistakes, but I would still play Butland. For me, I think it would be me. I'd still play Butland on Thursday. I think Butland will stay into the end of the season. Whether Kelly's good enough, as I say, Butland is one of these ones. It's a saleable asset, maybe a way back down the road to somewhere in the summer. So I think if you're going to do that, then we're going to need him to have a couple of good games in Europe to sort of keep his stock high. And then maybe if that's the case for Rangers going forward over the next summer, to sort of move him on and keep Kelly as your number one, or try and recruit again. But as you said, Kelly and Deano, they must be thinking to themselves, somebody comes in and overplaces Kelly again, not being the number one, then I think he'll have another unhappy player on our hands, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the 49ers will be watching that game at the weekend and thinking, crikey, we have got to really dig deep in our pockets here. I think it's harder to find the players that you'd keep than the ones that you'd get rid of. Look, I was on FOTMob earlier, looking at the player ratings. Butland received a 5.3. The next second lowest was Mohamed Diamande. This is in no way engineered by myself. But Ricky, I guess without my opinion being in here, it would be great to get your thoughts on what this guy offers. You know, people say play him in the 10. That's where he needs to be. He likes to receive the ball, turn on the ball and play. Well, he's got two great number sixes or sort of more defensively minded players behind him in Raskin and Barron. And he received the second lowest rating ahead of someone that pulled an absolute clanger off.
He's a lost little soul at times, can turn it on in the bigger games, and that's that mentality thing. Whether it's the system again, is he playing an 8, a 6, the 10? Maybe the boy doesn't know what he's doing, but he's very, very negative in his play. Sometimes he can turn and create, but he doesn't do it often enough. I'd much rather have Hadji in the role that he's playing, or even Tom Lawrence, because any Rangers team that's successful, the spine of the team has always been solid. Any successful Rangers team, from the goalkeeper right through to the striker, and their spine is non-existent. And left and right, and that's not much better either, to be fair. Jeffrey, absolutely hopeless. But the spine has got to be sorted when the 49ers come in. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on going down this same old road. Our centre half something good enough. We've actually got Tom Lawrence and Hadji in there who would do that number 10 role probably better than Diamande, albeit one doesn't get pace. One's a sort of a injury prone. But the striker situation through that spine has got to be resolved. I'm not convinced Danilo's the answer either. I mean, flashes. I mean, when he plays with Czerny, they do seem to link up quite well. But for me, I keep on going back when Hadji's playing in that central role, he's the only one that can link that play up, and yet he's sitting on the bench. And he'd been better off there on left hand wing instead of Egeman. Play Egeman up top with Dessers, the two are playing off each other perhaps. But again, it comes down to this formation. It comes down to the way Ferguson set them up on Saturday, which I just couldn't understand. It was dreadful. Yeah,
fair enough. Some good comments coming in here. Conclusion that our players play better in Europe because of the money, or maybe the TV, or whatever it would be. I don't think that's an unfair statement. Dean, I flashed one up here before saying Dio is not a 6, he's not a 10, he's an 8. Simple as that. Also get players around him who's his level, and you'll see him shine. He has to dumb himself down. How long are we going to sit here and kind of wait for this guy to turn up and be this sort of majestic player that everyone thinks he is? Because I might be the only one, and I might be completely blind, but I just do not see it.
I'll be as honest as I can be. He's built like the gable end of a pound note. He is not built for Scottish football. It's as simple as that. A fart would blow him over, right? So when you play in Scotland, you've got to have, like, look at the midfield under Gerrard. You had Arfield, Kamara, Jack. They could all handle themselves in the middle of the park. Human Dicani. So in our league, players like that will struggle, and that's happened all through my life. I could sit here and rattle off loads of players. That's why he's performing good in Europe, because he's not getting. There's no physicality. Anytime there's any physicality, he's out of the game. So And if he's got the intelligent brain, which we see glimpses of in Europe, let's be honest, we have. He's actually played some good games, but you can't. You've got to have a set way of playing in Scotland when you've got the wrong personnel playing with him as well. Like, I'll be honest, I just don't think he's built for Scottish football, and that's where we play 80% of our games. So when you're playing up against teams who will bully you, then and you get bullied, you're not going to be successful as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Mark, good to get your thoughts on it. We will move off the Amanda very quickly, but it's great hearing all this. Go ahead, Mark.
I just think for Diomande to be effective for anybody and to be effective in that whole position where we want him to play, we need to move the ball quicker. On Saturday, we went side to side, side to side, side to side. It was like Gio again, it was like a horseshoe. Wasn't on at Jeff, they come back to 2 centre-halves, or into Barron, or into Raskin in the middle, and then out to the right back. There was nobody trying to penetrate balls into where, if you're going to play in that 10, and to get them on the half turn. The one person that I thought actually done okay when he came on was Berjami. He hit the crossbar, and he looked lively in that. He gave us a wee bit of energy. I'm not saying he's the answer either for that, but I just think on Saturday it was so easy to pick faults in it. He was bad and he was bad and he was bad. I think just collectively they were bad. I don't think we moved the ball quicker. Listening to Barry's comments after the game, it sounds as though we're going to go long ball, isn't it? We're not going to play nice and attractive football. It might not be pretty to watch. I said before, I don't want pretty to watch. I want 3 points. See all the rest of the stuff, that'll come later. See all your B1-2s and all that. What I don't get, right, is, and I've said it for long enough, it's why are we playing one up front? Why are we playing one up front at home to Hibs or home to anybody? Ricky, see if that means you play 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, but you then get 2 forwards, which are occupying a back 4 or a back 5. You get more chance of scoring a goal. We were talking about it off. We've scored 1 goal in 5 games at home against Motherwell. That was, you know what I mean? And we don't even look like scoring sometimes. I know Ricky's at the enigma of Dessers in that, but whereas in the past, if you look at it, we've had midfielders scored goals, or we don't get that at the moment. If Dessers doesn't score now, where is our goals coming from? Tierney cut inside us 4 or 5 times in Saturday, could have had a shot and try to play a wee ball. And as I say, I don't know if is Danilo the answer. I think maybe his link plays better than Dessers potentially. Is Igimani the answer? Is playing 2 to 3 the answer? But we just looked devoid of ideas on Saturday, and that was a worry. But we were so slow, and I think Dio's getting, I'm not saying picked on, he's no physical in his best games has probably been in Europe. When it's not as physical, you're probably right in that. Or when he plays in a shape where we're utilising him. But unfortunately, look, we had Lee McCulloch, who was a centre forward that played wide left for us for a season and gave us his all every single week. That's all we're wanting. We're wanting people to go out there and run through a wall for us, because hard work is what we need to win games in Scotland. Our bread and butter is about not getting bullied. It's about winning 50-50s and winning first and second balls. So it was interesting, Ferguson's comment to say, I'll ring the changes. It'll be interesting to see what the changes will be, because you're really low on sort of who you can play. I don't even know if Proper will play, Ricky. I know you mentioned that, and sorry to go back in a wee point, but I don't know if he'll play Tav, Sterling and Balogun as a 3, and he'll not play Proper. I don't know who plays on the right-hand side if you do that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not quite sure who fills the right-hand side void if you do that, because it's either been Tav or Sterling when we've played it, so you would need to put somebody at the right-hand side. But I don't know if that could be his back 3. Tav on the right, Sterling central to that, because you pace and cover. The Balogun on the left-hand side of the 3. I'm not sure. I don't know what he's thinking, but as I say, I don't know if Proper does come back in. I'm not 100% sure either. But yeah, I think for the 10 to work and to be effective, then you need to get the ball to him on the half turn so he can turn. So it doesn't matter who plays in there. If you miss the midfield out and it doesn't work and you're going side to side to then try something, then it doesn't really matter for me who you play in. You could have played Messi at times, but he's not getting the ball or the service, and he's not going to create nothing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think one of the things about Diomande, which you see quite a lot, is that he'll get an early knock and he won't try things again. He just tries the easy pass, and that's often backwards. I think one of the other things, and it's probably more a formational thing, and Bayrami did do this well when he came on, is when you're playing the one up top, you sometimes need the striker to drop in, don't you, and allow the midfielders to go beyond. But I don't think Diamonde, and this is not, I'm not saying that it's his fault. I don't think he's a runner that goes beyond like a Arfield or a Cantwell or whoever would have done that sort of like the legs to go beyond. Ricky, some interesting stuff that Mark was saying there about, I guess, who is the kind of the strike force that you'd go with. It'd be good to get your thoughts on that for Thursday, who you'd play up top.
Yeah, I mean, see, when I mentioned the 5 at the back, I'm not meaning that to be a negative.
No.
It can be a positive, team, because it just gives you your fullbacks and your wingers. The modern football, you get up and down, you get up and down. Jeffy may be okay in that kind of role because he's actually okay going forward, although his final ball isn't the best. But when he's playing with Ridvan, overlapping each other, it's been successful, especially under Clement. But for some reason, that doesn't happen anymore. On the right hand side, does Cherny, can he play the fullback role? Probably not, because he doesn't work hard enough. He gets a sore nose when he comes back into the Rangers half, doesn't he? But for me, to play the 3 at the back or 5 at the back, it allows you to have the 2 front men. Now that's going to be Igman and Dessers. Dessers has done okay in Europe. I dare say he'll probably start on Thursday, but he's got to start with somebody who's not intelligent enough to be in his own. He just isn't. He needs some help up there. And again, how many times have been crying about this? I would play Igman and Dessers, or Igman and Danilo up top. Probably Dessers, because Danilo's not got a lot of minutes in his legs thus far. And I would play Hadjian behind them, or Tom Lawrence, one of those two, who I think can link the play. I think they're intelligent enough to do it. I wouldn't have Bajrami, but not Bajrami, Diomande, but he'll end up probably playing instead of the 2 that I've just said there. Now, if you play 5 at the back, it does give that number 8 role a little bit of a protection, because if he does mess up, theoretically there's enough behind him. He's 2 holding midfielders, but he shouldn't play with 2 holding midfielders if you've got 3 at the back. You only need the one, so it gives you that more of an attacking, offensive outlook in the game. So I don't look in 5 at the back being a defensive way. It gives you cover, but it also allows you to be a bit more practical and a bit more dangerous when you're attacking. And I'd love to have seen Ferguson play that on Saturday, but it wasn't to be. But Diamande's he's got a lot to do to prove himself. That Rangers support, a lot of people are starting to lose faith of him. And yes, Bajrami, to his credit, was probably the only kind of plus when he came on off the bench to replace Cherny on Saturday. He was running about. He was showing up both sides of the desert, and it was a great strike off the bar. But the game, we didn't deserve anything from that game on Saturday, so there's not really a lot of positives at all, is it?
Very true. Dean, it'd be good to get your thoughts on, if you were Barry Ferguson now, what would you be saying to the players ahead of Thursday? Some of the things he said was, the games in Europe and against Celtic aren't the games that you should be having to G players up for, because they just will be naturally. What would you be saying, though, ahead of that game on Thursday?
It's a tough one, because you don't want... You want to try and make it as positive as possible, don't you? But you want them to know that Saturday is unacceptable. So I guess you kind of just say to them that go out and play like you did against Fenerbahce. Away. That's what I would just go out and play like that. Obviously with the tweaks and as Barry said, the series of changes that will be made. And say to the players, look, go and stake a name for yourself for the rest of the season and for the new owners and management coming in.
Yeah.
Biggest day to shine, isn't it? As well alluded to, it's massive for our season for financial reasons. It's getting to a semi-final of the Europa League. It would be some accomplishment with this with this bipolar side that we have. So that's what That's what I would do. That's exactly what I'd be doing, because obviously there's a lot of these players that are still under contract and are over the next few years. So, you know, do they want to be here? Go and shows that you want to be here and then play like that to the end of the season. And as Mark said, Barry had said it isn't going to be pretty. You know, we got to the UEFA Cup final in 2008, as Macy called it, anti-football. So we weren't bothered then, were we? So much the same. Keep it tight at the back and hit them on the counter is what we're good at. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Irrespective of the formation of personnel, because that's on him, isn't it? So we just hope that he gets it right.
Yeah. Let's hope so. And Mark, it would be good to get your thoughts on, I guess, the changes that Barry's alluded to. He said he's going to be ruthless. He said he's going to go and make the harsh changes. Do you think we'll see that on Thursday? And if so, what could that look like?
I think obviously from the starting lineup for Saturday, I think Suter and is it Dio? I think is suspended. 2 are suspended. Is it Dio?
I think so.
So that is it an easy comment to make? Oh, well, I made 2 changes. I think he'll change more. I think we'll come out the blocks flying on Saturday. Thursday. I think we need to try and get the fans on my side. I think if we go wrong, I know some people are going on Thursday not expecting much. I get that, but changes for me. You're not going to play Dio, so are you going to go then, Ricky? Does Cherney play in that hole behind 2 forwards? Do you play 5-2-1-2 basically, or 3-4-1-2? We sort of a 2 up top with Cherney in the hole, Raskin and Barron behind them, with then a 5 sort of across the back potentially. I think that could maybe work, or maybe he'll try that. I don't know what he tries. I certainly do think it'll be 3 at the back and sort of a 5 when we're defending, which the way it should be when you're playing 3 at the back. I know, Ricky, when it's said it's 5 when we say it, but it's really 3, isn't it? With 2 more natural wingers that gives width, because on Saturday when they sort of made the changes, there was no width either. It was like a wee diamond sort of a shape on Saturday, and the width was then meant to come from, at that time it'd have been Jeffrey or Tavernier was meant to go then up and down to create your width and your overload, but then you were leaving yourself exposed for like the second goal, just one long ball cuts you right wide open right through the middle, because you've no actual cover in depth. And I thought that's why Sterling played centrally. I agree with you, Ricky. I think Jeffrey's a wing back or even one forward. I'm not convinced he's an out and out full back. I think it's the same issue we had for Tav for years, where maybe defending's not his best sort of a trait, but we've had the unfortunate thing with Tav through 8 times is he was getting you, I don't know, 10 plus, even for a defender, 10 to 15 goals a season, where I don't even know if Jeffrey scored yet. So if that's going to be your main outlet or your width. Look, football's about shots and crosses, isn't it? Crosses into the box and shots at goal. You don't score goals without them. So if you're getting Jeff to the byline and Tav to the byline 10 times, then you're going to be picking somebody out. So it'll be interesting. I can't see many changes. I think Balogun will come back in. I don't know how he'll play. It could be probably, if you look at it now, is that his team? Maybe he said he's going to ring changes, but could it be Jeffrey wide left, Tap, probably Sterling wide right with Balogun, Proper and Tav as a 3, Raskin and Barron with Cherney in that wee 10 hole with 2 up top. But the only changes he's actually made in that is the people that are eligible to play because of suspension. So did they not see enough for your man? We highlighted it straight away. Barron, Raskin runs 10 yards beyond him to try and block the cross, where your man didn't look as though he was interested. So from me, it could be strange where Danilo plays ahead of Dessers in that, or ahead of Egerman, and it's Danilo and Dessers up front. But you can't come out and maybe just after the game and probably emotions are still raw and go, I'm going to make wholesale changes, and then don't make wholesale changes, and then his first thing is going to say in the presser, well, you didn't make changes, why did you not make them if it doesn't go right? So he opens himself up to a can of worms by saying that comment. So it'll be interesting to see the changes, and just hopefully he gets it right.
Yeah, very true. For what it's worth, I think he will go with, from watching Bilbao previously, and we know they're very quick on the wings, direct, get the ball wide, get it in the box, drive at players. I think we'll go with a 4-5-1, and I think he'll play Sterling wide right on the midfield, and if Yilmaz is available, Yilmaz wide left to double down on the wingers, and then have a bit more in the midfield with the sort of the additional man in there, and leave. It might leave Dest as isolated, but I think job to be done is come away with something and take it to the away leg. I think that will be the aim of the day. Ricky, where would your head be if that was kind of how we set up?
No, you're probably, it's a good shout, Ross. With that formation, I think it's pretty much the same kind of setup. But I generally think Ibrox, he will probably go with two up top. How he rides up behind that, I'm not sure. But if it is going to be a single striker, I don't want it to be Desser. His confidence is just shot. I'd rather that was Iggerman. He's a younger lad. He wants to prove a point. We know when he's on it, that boy can, the Morelos sort of type player in him, hold the ball up, allow the midfielders to get beyond them. Those particular runners, if we don't have any more. Although Barron's, he can get up and round. It's just, I take your point in Diomande, although he's not going to be playing. So, whether that's Hadji or Lawrence, one of those two is going to be sitting in there centrally. I would have thought we guaranteed one of those two. But you do need your width, and if you're going to play three at the back, Tav can be in the right, giving you that width, because he's still very effective going forward as Tav. And if Ridvan is available, then I'd have him on the left-hand side of that back five, or on the left-hand side of the middle five, Ross, what you've suggested, because he'll give you that defensive cover, but he's also quick enough to get up there and deliver a ball into the front players, whoever that may be. But going on to Czerny, Mark, we're not dropping Czerny, mate. The boy's been fantastic in Europe. And as bad as the games they all had on Saturday, you cannot afford to not play Czerny, because when he turns it on in Europe, he makes a big difference to us. So I think he's a shoe on to play probably on the right-hand side of the three in the middle of the park. I'm not convinced if we do play five at the back that we'll have two holding midfielders, because you're stifling. You're basically jamming the whole of that part there and allowing them to play around about us. I think we're just going to be far too solid in that middle of the park. They'll come round outside of us. So I think if we do play five at the back, we'll only have one holding midfielder. But time will tell. But our European form is the polar opposite, isn't it, to our domestic form? So, and this is what it's just so frustrating with these mentality and the calibre of these players that we've got. We've been on this pod before saying, when the boys come in, the 49ers, and not got that much to do. There's only a bit of quality here, a bit of quality there. We've got a great squad. And they were saying tonight, the whole lot needs to, and I don't disagree with it. So there's definitely some players there that we can keep in our squad going forward. We don't need a massive clear out, but the spine of that team's got to be sorted. Yeah.
I think we'll all agree with that. Look, we're going to wrap up in a second, but before we do, Deano has got a bit of an announcement, a competition, I believe, Dean?
Yeah, that's right, Ross. So, as you can see, I'm in Off the Match I Go shop, and Barry, who runs Off the Match I Go, has given us this fantastic piece here, which is signed by Colin Steen and Willie Johnston themselves. So,
nice.
This is up for grabs, right? All you have to do to enter the competition is subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow Off to the Match I Go on Facebook. Screenshot both, leave it in a comment. And when we get to 3,000 subscribers, which I think we're on about 2,780, Ross, there or thereabouts, yeah?
Something like that. Yeah, along that.
So when we get up to 3,000, we'll obviously draw the winner and announce it live on the podcast. So given it's coming up to Father's Day, I tell you what, if I wasn't a part of the podcast, I'd want my old man to have this. It's absolutely minted. So yeah, get yourselves involved, guys. Subscribe to the channel, follow Barry, get yourselves entered, and job done.
Brilliant. What a prize that is. Yeah, I am very envious. Whoever ends up with that, it'd look great in my man cave. I might have to see if there's another one floating about that I can get my hands on. Look, we're running out of time, everyone. I want to say, firstly, thank you to everyone watching at home. We wouldn't be a podcast without you. So thank you very much for continuing to watch these and showing your support. The comments have been great. Loads of great opinions coming in. And then secondly, thank you very much to my guests, Ricky, Mark and Dean, who, as always, are a font of knowledge and some great opinions and views shared. So thank you very much. Look, another dreadful weekend's result. But we've got Thursday to look forward to. Whilst Thursdays are normally Rangers nights, every night is the Rangers Journal night. Thank you.